from building codes. Like if you want to put a door in a wall, here's how you construct the door. You have to put these boards in, you have to set it up a certain way to distribute the load. So essentially the building codes are design patterns. If you want to do this, here's how you do it in a safe manner. So the programmers took this idea and said, here's these things we want to do, let's write down how to do them. So one of the things that you might want to do is, well, the example that this book gives is, let's say you want to, you're running a coffee shop, all right? So you offer coffee, and what can you add to a coffee? Cream, sugar, milk, double shot,
chocolate,
ice, chocolate,
cinnamon,
whipped cream, cinnamon, right? And each one of those toppings could essentially have its own price, right? So to add a double shot, it's an extra $1. To add cream, it might be 50 cents, right? So you start with a class called coffee. It has a price associated with it. And then you have these things called decorator classes. So if you want to come up with the total cost of the coffee, you say new coffee. That returns a coffee object to you. And then you go dot cream, dot sugar, dot double shot. And so you're applying all of these methods essentially to the base class. And what you get back out of this whole thing is still a coffee. Each one of these returns a coffee object. So this returns a coffee object, this returns a coffee object, this one does, and when you get all done, you've got a coffee, but it's now been decorated with all these toppings. And then you can just say, coffee.cost, and it goes through, it just runs through here and adds up all the costs. So it's called the decorator pattern. How to do that? There's one called the listener pattern, which is what all the GUIs do. To be able to click on a widget, send an event to someone who's listening for it, that event gets processed, and then some kind of result gets sent back. So message passing is called the listener or observer pattern. There's one called the strategy pattern, which allows you to, in a video game, you've got your base character, but along the way you pick up power points, and you pick up new weapons, and you pick up new capabilities. So your player is still a player object, but what you can do is, like, let's say you find a sword on the ground, and you pick up that sword, and that sword now gives you a new ability. So that sword contains an object within it that gets transferred to you, which has the new ability. So rather than having in your player class this big, like, if I have a sword, then I can do this. Else, if I have a gun, I can do this. Else, if I have a piccolo, I can do this. So big giant if-else thing. You just inherit. You just pick up basically an object from this thing, and that contains the code for the new capability you have. So that object might have a method in it called shoot. And so you just call shoot on that thing, and it shoots the way that particular object is supposed to shoot. It's really cool. So this idea that I was having about here is we could just have the add and the mult and the div have inside of it the character that it's supposed to print, a plus or a times or a slash. And then the toString method here of the parent class just goes in and reaches that for that variable, pulls it out, and that's the one it prints.
Yeah, let's do that. That book, is it just like informational, like it's a read, or do they have examples where you can actually code?
No, that particular book has lots of Java examples. I like that one because it is specifically for Java.
Oh, it's for Java.
Whereas there are plenty of design pattern books out there that are not language specific. I mean, they assume it's an object-oriented language, but they themselves are not language specific.
So how's that book different from the first Java book? Is it just a high level?
It's the next step up. So now that you know Java, you're going to find that you're writing programs that kind of have the same behaviors over and over again. Turns out there's a list of these behaviors out there. speed and just get started on Wikipedia.
Really good stuff.
I want design patterns for programming.
Software design pattern?
Here we go. So here are the names of these patterns.
And this thing still hasn't found it.
Adapters used quite a bit. There's decorator, I was just talking about that.
What's all that yes and no?
It's about whether that particular pattern is discussed in a particular book.
Oh, that's 2 books right there?
Yeah. This is the canonical design patterns book, the one that's language independent. And then Code Complete is a book by a Microsoft lead engineers. And it's another one of those sort of Bible books about how to do software engineering. We did this, the null object pattern. Avoid null references by providing a default object. We did that when we did the compound, singleton, and empty. So we had empty represent the case where normally we would just put a null there to say that there's nothing following. But we provided a class to represent that case. Strategy pattern, I like that one. So there's a lot. So definitely start learning about design patterns. It will make you a better programmer. And you'll read it and you go, wait a minute, I did that. That's a solution to a problem that I had. And someone wrote it down. Why didn't I see this before? All right, so let's see if we can do that. So I want, let's go to toString. And you know, toString is the same pretty much except for this one character. Right?
Sure.
All right, let's see if we can do this. You challenge me now. Okay, I just moved it up in the binary operator, which means I can now take it out of here. This is scary. Took out toString. Okay, but now how do we get it to display the right character depending upon whether we're a mult, a div, or a add?
If statement.
I want to avoid that. That was my first thing. It's like if this is an instance of add, then do this. Okay, don't want to do that. Because now if I add a new binary operator like subtract, I now have to go change this. I want to avoid that sort of thing. So what I need is I need some attribute of an add that this toString can go and fetch. So let's go into add, and let's add something to add. Let's put in here string op symbol is a plus. Yeah?
So you're gonna say. How do you know if it's the left one or the right one?
Say what?
Outside.
For toString, you only print out the symbol once, and then you call toString on the left and the right.
Yeah. I think you have to put an add before in front of the up symbol.
And we could do the exact same thing with evaluate, just put op symbol there. No, because op symbol's a string and we need it to be.
No, you can't.
plus in front of the up symbol.
Yeah. And I also need a variable called op symbol here. And you set it to a dummy value for now, because binary operator can do that. Okay. Think it's gonna work? So when we're inside of add, and we call toString, we're gonna inherit the method from binary operator. That one says print a parentheses, the op symbol, and then the left and the right. Op symbol for add is a plus. Should we go do it for multiplying?
You have to change the model.
Oh, brother. All right, well, let's just see if it works for add. I need to get this working. I'm totally putting this back the way it was.
Sorry. Messed it up?
It's not working yet.
With the targets.
Yeah. All right, I just reverted it back to the last state value. That should do it. So what we're gonna wait for is, oh, did it work? I think that's where the plus is supposed to be. Well, what can we do about that? I know there's a solution to this. You know what the problem is?
It's not returning that op symbol to the.
So when add calls toString, right? There's no toString in here,
That's right.
so it passes to its parent. So binary op calls toString, and it says put op symbol, but binary op symbol is nothing.
You need to pass the up symbol through the, you need to pass it through the method. But yeah.
But that's not a proper toString.
Yeah.
This is the signature for toString.
Gotcha.
So we need somehow for binary operator to ask add what its
Might be
op symbol is.
overly complicated. Removing one method.
Can we make a method that does this?
So we got rid of one method and added a variable and simplified.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that saved a lot of.
But it's supposed to make it where all you have to do is put that in one.
Yeah, ideally, it should be where I just drop one thing into an add, a mult, and a div, and all the toStrings just work. Surely it's one of those patterns. I don't want to figure it out right now. But that's the kind of the idea, is that you drop in, but I think Lance, you have the right idea, is you actually make a method that binary op will call that method and fetch out the string that it needs. I don't think I have a good solution for that. On my sleep deprived state of mind right now.
Did you sleep last night?
What?
Did you sleep last night?
About 4 hours.
Maybe two.
I got home and like couldn't fall back asleep, so just drove like for an hour and a half, so I stayed up to like 6:30.
You what?
Stayed up to like 6:30 because I couldn't sleep when I got back home.
And then you went to sleep again?
Eventually, yeah, till 9:30.
Cursing your dad for.
Yeah, pretty much.
What the hell?
Going on vacation or something.
looks like a
That is crazy.
He made it to where his targets keep appearing as he's trying to find it.
Holy crap.
I'll never finish.
Oh, so we have basically one and a half weeks left.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have another final?
Yeah.
Really? It's like I got
Speaking
5
of
classes,
things-
all I need to do
What
finals.
did we do on Tuesday when I was
Thursday.
in here?
We just worked in the lab.
Can it be like what we're doing with 26 and have it like online over a weekend?
It's not a bad idea.
Which one's best?
I'll think hard about that one.
For those of us who have calculus exams the night before, we get to work on it early.
So the test would be based upon the stuff that we've learned since then.
I don't remember.
Since the test?
Since the first, since the first test.
Okay.
What do we learn?
What were the important concepts that we learned?
Singletons?
The recursion, the trees.
How to count trees?
Yep,
How to make a turtle?
not so much.
Yeah.
How to run Eclipse?
I can't test that.
Yeah, you can test that. So how you can do this? So on the step that you need to do this.
Install Eclipse, 5 points.
Just make it easy for both of us.
Just always clips 5
I
points.
just realized that to
Easy
get it to
question,
run, you have to
easy
click on
answer.
stage, then hit run.
Yeah,
So I was like, why would the hell won't it run? Click on
because it
add.
needs to know which method contains.
Which method that run?
That has the main in it. Now, once it identifies that one, then you can be anywhere in the project and click on run and it'll work.
Oh,
You just gotta do that first time to kind of show it, this is the class that contains the main method, which I think is all the way at the bottom.
It did work.
So what if your project has multiple mains?
Arrow.
Then when you click on, there's a little menu here, and you can select which main you want to run.
Okay.
Is that you have 2 main in there? That's all.
You can only have one main per class, but you can have multiple classes each with their own main. In fact, for some projects, that's how the testing gets done, is they put a main in each one of the classes, and that just sort of runs their tests. So they can just say, I want to run, before JUnit became popular, that was another way to do it, is every method had its own main in it. And that would just do something like ask the user for some input, process it, produce some output, and that's how you check it. These days, JUnit is the way to go, because you can just click one button, does everything.
Why does yours do that?
What?
Yours makes that line, Dan's makes the line, mine does not make the line. I don't know.
You modified your stage?
Maybe you didn't have the bug.
I just got perfect cosine tangent to even
I
out.
thought it was a tangent, so I changed mine to tangent, and I'm still not getting lines. Because I thought, because the tangent has that one spot, those 2 spots where it's undefined, and I thought that might be causing it. So I switched to tangent, and I'm still not getting it.
Is it like that?
So your stage there
Yeah,
is
look at
different than the one on canvas, and I think a couple classes ago you said you were gonna update it.
Yeah.
There you go, right
A
there.
lot of them have it today.
Like ours only has like 2 constants up top, and yours has a couple up there. I don't know if that changes anything, but
I think,
That's what I used to do.
So some, you just,
Yeah. So I found out we should just do a filter.
Oh, yours doesn't have all this stuff on it?
ours has the bare bones.
Ours, I think, is the first one you showed, like, the the first day you got it working.
Man, I thought I replaced that. Since I have all this stuff stored in Bitbucket, I tried to make that one file public, and I could say just link to the latest version of the file. That didn't work.
Yeah, a lot of grading to do.
Yeah, thanks.
How many classes you have this semester, sir?
5. I'm going down to 4 next semester. I'm being driven crazy.
Too much of a load?
They gave you too much of a load.
I had to take an extra one because we couldn't fill one of the classes with a teacher.
But did you also like?
Oh, no, it was last year that I took an extra one. And this year it's just a clone of last spring.
How about all the classes you took online?
Hmm?
How about all the classes you took online? The one you learned by yourself? In all the
Mostly over the winter break. And then some of them went into this semester and I just dropped them. I can't finish this.
Can teachers get overtime?
I do get overtime for one of the classes.
Just one class?
But being paid extra money doesn't add extra hours to the day.
Just it's paying you for not sleeping.
See, I want to replace that file.
Don't touch my food.
Where's my workspace? Documents, workspace. Go. Source.
All? Oh, you know why?
I'll show you. Go to function. Say function? I'm going to, so, change that to 5. Start off with 5. Because every time we can randomly put in more, so.
This is the latest version.
Yeah, and then so the bigger it is, the slower it starts to go. Because that's the calculator.
So what I need to do over the weekend is get another version of Stage that's a little more adaptable to allow us to be able to add targets. And then I want to be able to show you after the weekend that we can evolve a creature to find the food on the screen and then give it another target somewhere else and it needs to go find that one without any retraining. It just knows how to do it. That'd be really cool. Because now this is the start of our binary overlords.
Then we can just put like 1,000 pellets of food, and say, go find them all.
Yeah.
One column pellets. Red dots, whatever.
It's essentially kind of how does anyone have a Roomba?
My parents do.
The little vacuum cleaner that goes around, the robot
Oh,
vacuum
those things are
cleaner?
cool.
Yeah. So it kind of went through a training process during development that was similar to this. Because you notice it kind of it doesn't, have you ever seen a Roomba move around the room? It doesn't like go back and forth like you'd expect. It actually just kind of bounces around the room using sensors to figure out where things are. And so it's kind of sort of meandering the same sort of way that ours does, but it has some specific goals in mind. Like it knows how to find its way back to the charging station. So it has a sensor on top, and when it sees the light that the charging station is emitting, it can kind of steer toward it and go there. However, if there's something in the way, it needs to figure out how to go around that thing. So it itself has this sort of programming in it, where it has specific goals in mind, like I need to hit this point in the room, and this point in this point in the room, but how it actually gets there is a complete mystery to most people watching it, except my cat has figured it out.
You can't jump around it. That's figure it out.
But
Your cat you jump around the
it's
vacuum.
like the cat sort of knows where it's going to be going next and can move out of the way.
Will this look better if we do this? that okay?
How many are on there?
It randomly names a big dot
Keeps
every
adding
time.
them.
200 and counting.
That's pretty good.
So every time a creature runs, it has a different target to hit?
Yeah. Well, if it happens to hit the target the first try,
Yeah.
then it says I'm done. But the second, if it didn't hit the target the first try, and then you add a second dot, it's like, oh, now I have to
You're
calculate.
knowing your values of X and Y for your spots. I put mapped.random in all those.
I
It
didn't.
keeps making them.
I didn't expect it that it reprinted the dots every.
I thought it was just gonna put it in a random spot, but it actually keeps doing that.
That's sort of mean. It's sort of like,
Never win.
hey, here, grab the pen. Come on, grab the pen. Come on.
Almost got it that time.
Every time you miss, it adds another 10 to it that you have to grab as well.
That's what challenge is too. That actually doesn't matter.
It's like, that's no way to train something to keep moving it around.
So at the end of the 100th round, you have 100 pens you're trying to grab with one hand.
One hand.
Same idea.
Then we punish you for not
You
getting
got
it
the
all.
idea after watching this.
And then he dies, and you start over trying to get a 1.
It's something that's like, I want it to be in a random spot.
So we would need to make an array that generates random spots for us and then keeps those same spots.
Well, if you set a value outside of it, you just put it back in.
Did you?
YouTube's up.
Yeah, the top one's YouTube.
Even
Go watch
just
this.
there.
Maybe.
I bet much.
Human provides 40 demonstrations of how to catch a ball. Simulate it.
Nothing in the face.
Also just jumping off. Get the doubles.
Can you guys see that?
No, not really.
Turn off lights?
Blurry.
Yeah.
Not blurry. There's no sound either.
I don't think there is. There's no sound. Justin, the German ball catching robot.
Ticket invalid. Please insert.
It's got weird arms. Hi, Justin. What's up?
Yes, all over its body sensors, which makes possible for him to feel and give feedback to contact with the environment. For example, the fingers can have contact with the objects, and this allows him for Justin to define manipulation tasks.
We truly are.
One application we see Justin in is space robotics, where he is more or less tele-operated, maybe from ground or from ISS or space shuttle. So there he is not very autonomous. Another application area is industrial robotics, where he has to be a little bit more autonomous.
not spend time with their kids. Here, go play that. Catch the robot. Get out of here.
Have you seen the ones with the robot that can twirl a pencil?
There's one online, a robot that can sing and tell bad jokes.
Wow. Are those sonic sensors right there that are like watching the ball?
Oh, you missed it. Oh,
Should be.
you failed.
Oh, reach out.
Smack it again.
Let's come back down and give up. Holy crap.
I almost love drop. He's only use one hand. I only use one hand.
You got away from the. Oop. Robot's pretty good.
Humans.
Oh,
Oh.
look at that. That cute looks good, huh?
Human are just like compensated for it.
Hey,
Fake.
It's gonna snap it.
Go.
holy crap.
Done. It's like
I'm
dropping
done.
a microphone. Dude, just give me 3 names. What is she doing? She's throwing.
That thing could flip you off.
The water balloon?
Can it catch an egg without breaking it?
Ryan either.
Did I show you guys the quadcopters that can pass a stick around?
Yeah.
It's a robotic self-healing chair.
Not in this class, right?
Quadcopters.
Oh, I've seen the swarm videos though, where they make like formations.
Yeah.
So they can all see each other, it's freaky.
It's the same group.
Jersey acrobatics. Oh no, I've seen this. Insane.
catching quadricopter starts above the expected impact point and begins to fly down, while the other quadricopter throws the pole. As soon as the pole is in the air, the system predicts the impact position. In order to catch and balance the pole with minimum control effort, the catching instant is chosen such that the pole will rotate into the upright equilibrium position by itself. The catching trajectory is recomputed with the times per second to end at the predicted impact position. Because the catching vehicle has only about 0.65 seconds to correct its position and catch the pole, we apply learning algorithms to the system in order to improve its performance over time.
That's how he throws it.
This is the stuff that makes me wanna go to ETH.
I wanna work for this company.
It's a school.
It's a university.
Yeah.
It's good.
Number 7 in the world for computer science.
Was what?
They're like number 7 and number 8 in the world for computer science right now.
Ball throwing, I haven't seen this one. Did you get a better voice?
Oh, I've seen this one.
Oh, this one's crazy.
Yeah,
That's for cat stuck in trees.
this one's cool.
Should I go to the golf range and see all those things? Why can't we do that? Let's try that.
Are you throwing 2 balls?
Just one.
Then you get to.
Let's go by machine.
By tilting the formation, you can throw the ball towards the desired direction.
So do you think that's programmed or is that real time?
To compensate for this
Are you set up so it does it every time?
the actual dynamics of the system, implement a self-learning algorithm that learns from experience.
This one's learning.
We learned just to stand here.
And now, for what the ball sees, we replace it with a GoPro camera.
Did he throw it?
Throwing the camera, yeah.
Well, what is that thing? The big one.
This is how Skynet got its name.
That is good.
What?
If you fall, you hit by all those blades.
Seriously?
You got the ball.
Why are they walking it up?
Yeah, I wanna see you guys live.